So my name's Shandell Pino. I am an intuitive guide and healer. My passions are to teach people about their own energy, how their feelings and emotions affect their bodies, and how to bring them back to their truest self and their heart. I have been on this path for about the last 8 years. I came on, I always knew I had certain gifts, but just kind of never did anything with them until I got cancer. And then, you know, big life changes create big life changes. And so I really dove into who I was and the life that I was living and my truest potential. So I'm ever so grateful for the big C word for putting me on this path. So today I am going to be talking about the archetypes of our power center. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So, okay. So the archetypes of our power center. So our power center is actually our solar plexus chakra. We have 7 chakras within our bodies, and our solar plexus is located at the center of the body. It's above the belly button and below the rib cage. It is known as our power center. It's where we process relationships with other people. It's how we walk in the world. It houses our self-esteem, self-confidence, and our self-worth. It's our gut feeling that we get when we're in certain situations that we don't want to be in. And it's that butterfly feeling of when the situation is perfect and exactly what it needs to be. So our solar plexus will show us and remind us who our truest self is. It will always be there. It is known as our second intuition. We have our third eye, which is intuition from above, but it's so important to tune into our bodies to find out what our energetic body is saying and speaking to us. And so as we come from our solar plexus and we move into our archetypes, our archetypes are actually who we inherently are. They reflect the patterns of our own behaviors. And when you'll see archetypes in movies and plays, and you really resonate with a specific character because it's actually mirroring a piece of yourself. So you're seeing this character and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I just totally resonate with that person. That's totally me. And that's because that character is playing a piece that is inside you that sometimes is asking to be seen or asking to be noticed. When we recognize our own personal archetypes, it helps us understand our own behaviors, why we are drawn to certain things and not certain things, and how we can uniquely shine our own personality. How we show up and how we open our light to the world is through our archetypes. There are 75 different archetypes, and there are not good or bad archetypes, but each archetype does have a shadow and a light side. So each chakra, each of our 7 chakras also have an archetype that represents a shadow and a light side of that archetype. So within the 7 chakras, we're only focusing today on our solar plexus chakra. And so in the solar plexus chakra, we see, keeps doing that, the servant and the warrior. So the servant in our solar plexus chakra is the shadow side of the archetype. The warrior would be the light side of the archetype. So when we look at these archetypes, and I'll talk about them both separately in their own place as their own separate archetypes, but how they show up in the solar plexus and how they kind of affect the way we move and affect the way we show up in the world and affect the way we allow ourselves to be seen or not seen. So we'll start with the servant. The servant is like the Cinderella story. The servant is somebody who does not want to be seen, who wants to help and to serve, but doesn't want the acknowledgement of being seen or acknowledgement for what they offer to the world, what they offer to other people. They tend to want to stay in the background and not have any attention put on them. They undervalue themselves. They depend on the approval of others to feel their self-worth. So they show up, they are the ones who are happy to help, they're happy to serve, they like to throw parties, they like to put everything together so that everybody is happy and safe and secure and comfortable. And at the same time, they will stay back and be in the shadow of the party. They don't want any acknowledgement of putting it together or how wonderful it is. They'll kind of like brush off that, oh, it's no big deal, oh, it's fine, and things like that. They don't allow themselves to put themselves first or in a situation. They relinquish their own personal power and their own emotional needs for others. And so as you look at this servant archetype, you may recognize some of these habits in yourself, whether that is quite often or whether it is just in certain circumstances or with certain people that you kind of take that step back and move into the more of a shadow. The most important thing about this archetype to know is that when you are in this servant role, it's important that you recognize and celebrate your worth, and that you have to know that you don't have to do or be anything other than yourself to be loved and accepted. So you are only just you, and that is good enough. But then it's important that you celebrate what you're capable of, what you can give, what you offer to the world, what you offer to your family. Your part and your place is important. The key thing for me in this piece was recognizing how to serve from my heart in a way that served others, but also served me at the same time. So anytime I would come in and I would ask, how can I serve in a way that also serves me, so that I'm not just continuing to serve other people. So then we move on from the servant into the warrior, the Wonder Woman. The warrior is the hero or the heroine of our own story. The warrior positively reflects our level of self-confidence, self-worth, and personal power. A warrior will stand up for itself, believes in itself, and is optimistic and enthusiastic about putting itself forward. When we give ourselves permission to feel good in the power of our own energy, the more personal power we accumulate in our lives. The warrior focuses on its strength and ability and the right to be the best person they know how to be. The warrior works on developing confidence and wisdom for personal growth and development. So the warrior is always going to stand up for what is right, whether that's for themselves or whether that's for other people. They will always and continuously be searching for more wisdom on how they can be a better person, how they can step forward in their best possible light. And so the warrior is not always, so the shadow side of the warrior is like confrontational, emotionally withdrawn, always want to fight. But if you switch that energy into the willingness to fight for your own self and for your own power and abilities, that's where the light begins to really shine. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment because I'd like to talk about my own personal story of this, recognizing these archetypes in my solar plexus. So I've always been drawn to chakras. They're like one of my things. I've taught many classes on them. But when I found out about archetypes and I started learning about the archetypes within our chakras, it was really eye-opening because I recognize that for so long in my life, I have been living in this servant energy. Um, the servant and the warrior, neither one of them are in my major arcana. And so, which is your 12 major archetypes that you inherently are. And I had recognized that I had been living in this servant place where, whether that was in my home or with my friends or my family or in my business, I was very much wanting to serve and make sure everybody was good, was taken care of, everybody had what they needed, and I would just be in the line, back in the dark. I didn't want any recognition. We would have parties and everybody would be like, oh, this is wonderful. And I'd be like, oh, it's no big deal. It's fine, right? I didn't want any of the recognition. In my business, it really, I thought that this is who I was. I came into this healing practice wanting to help people, wanting to serve, wanting a better life for other people. And in doing that, I wouldn't take payment. I would take small payments. I would just take word of mouth. I never put myself out there. I was happy to just do things for people. And I just thought that, oh, this is just kind of who I am. I just like to help, and I don't need the recognition. I don't need to have the big picture. I don't need to have a class of 100 people, right? And when I was introduced to the archetypes and I was shown who my true archetypes are, I was amazed. My top two archetypes are teacher and mother. When I heard that, I thought, oh my gosh, yes, this is exactly who I am. And I remember even in junior high, I would teach the little preschoolers their letters and how to read over the summer. And when I was in high school, I wanted to be an English teacher. And I grew up and I became a yoga instructor. And then coming into the healing world, I always want to teach people everything I learn, everything, any modalities or anything that comes up. I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to know about this. And so I'm so passionate about teaching anything that I know. And when I heard that I was a teacher, I was like, yes. And I claimed it. In that moment, I claimed that I was a teacher and I have the ability to teach. And it just became who I was as opposed to something I like to do. And then with the mother piece, I mothered everybody, my brother, my kids' friends. It was just natural. I thought that that was natural for everybody. Learned is that that is not true. Um, being a mother archetype is a gift, not a type. It is a gift to be with people, with children, with teenagers in a way that is nurturing and loving. And I recognized it as a gift and things shifted for me. I was much more open and willing to own this piece of me. And so when we look at this servant and the warrior, you may not be a servant or a warrior, right? I'm not. But what I took was the understanding of what the servant was teaching me is celebrating my worth, knowing what I have to offer is important, and then using the warrior archetype as an energy towards who I truly am. So I am willing to fight for this teacher piece in me. I'm willing to stand up for this mothering piece of me. I'm willing to use this warrior energy in towards what I truly am. So now I'm going to go back to share my screen. We are going to, okay, let's try that again. So now from here, we're going to go over 8 of the most common archetypes. So we went over the servant and the warrior. Now we're going to talk about 8 of the most common archetypes, because you may not be the warrior or the servant, but you may be one of these 8. You may not be. You have a whole list of 75 that you can research and find out how it resonates with you. But as we talk about these ones, I want you to feel into that warrior energy and see if which ones resonate with you that you would be willing to fight for, that you're willing to stand up for yourself in. So we have the queen and the king, the teacher, the mother, the father, the connector, the artist, the healer, the mentor, and the mediator. These are just the most common ones that you see. So first we have the queen and the king. With each archetype, I will talk about the light side and the shadow side. Every archetype has it. Remember, as you're talking about through the chakras with the solar plexus, each archetype is representing one specific, so one light and one shadow. But for the archetypes themselves, they have the light and the shadow. So the queen is very gracious, loving. She's a leader. She's wise. She's fair and fierce. The king is usually benevolent, honorable, and he loves to serve. In the shadow, the queen can be entitled and controlling. In the shadow for the king, he is destructive, demanding, and hypocritical. So if you feel kind of drawn towards the king and the queen, you may feel like pieces of this are you, or you may recognize some of those shadow elements that you're like, oh yeah, I kind of do that. So how can you move up into the light? So then we'll come to the teacher. The teacher in the light has a passion to teach. It's just in their bones. They have to teach you what they know. They love to pass on knowledge. They crave sharing themselves, sharing what they know. In the shadow, a teacher is unteachable. They kind of show up and already know everything. So I'm just here. They can be condescending. They tend to be critical of other teachers. When you are a teacher, it's really important to recognize that fact that when you walk into someone else's classroom presentation, be open to anything that they have to share, because you always have the opportunity to learn. And then we come into the mother and the father. The mother in the light is nurturing. She's patient. She mothers other people. The father is a provider, a protector, and has the ability to lead a tribe. In the shadow, the mother is overprotective, and she only feels like she has one calling in life, and that is to be a mother. So she tends to make her whole life and her whole world about her children. And then when her children leave, she feels like she has nothing. And then she begins to live through her children. A father archetype can be very dictatorial and abusive, very demanding. So when we're in the light, he's amazing, right? A wonderful provider, protector. In the shadow is very difficult to have a relationship with the father figure. And then we move to the connector. So the connector loves people and knows how to connect people to people. We all know that one person who knows somebody, right? Like if you need a plumber, you know exactly who to call because they have a list of plumbers that they know. So a connector really is that person who loves to connect people to people. They know a lot of people. And with the connector archetype, they're in their relationships, the connection is a non-negotiable. So when they feel drawn to someone, they want to have that deep relationship with them. It's not a surface relationship. The surface relationships comes in the shadow. When the connector is in the shadow, they have lots of acquaintances, but not really any connections. And then they also choose friends over family. You'll notice that they'll drop being at home if a friend needs them, which sometimes is good, but it tends to happen more often than not with connectors. And then we will move to the artist. So the artist is creative and imaginative. They have the ability to create beauty and express it, which is the most important part. There are a lot of artists out there who create beautiful and amazing things and then don't share it or express it. And that's where the shadow comes in. So the shadow of the artist is their perfectionist. They feel like their art is never complete, or it's just not right. They also undervalue and or overvalue themselves. They think that their paintings or their creations are not worth anything, so why would somebody buy it? Or they feel like, oh, this is just the most amazing thing ever, and nobody could ever afford my work, right? And so you hear the phrase "the starving artist." That's where that comes from, as an artist living in the shadow. When an artist can use that warrior energy to step forward and share their creations with the world, it makes the world such a more beautiful place. So then we have the healer. The healer in the light wants wholeness for themselves and wants wholeness for everyone around them, whether it's friends, acquaintances, everyone in the world. They want to share their healing abilities. Most of them are hands-on healers. Even if somebody is not like a traditional healer, whether they do Reiki or some other type of healing energy, there are some people who just have that healer ability within themselves. You may know somebody that who is like an amazing hugger. Like you hug them and you just feel incredible. I have one of those friends. Her name is Tracy, and when I'm feeling down, I crave one of her hugs. And it's because just in her hands, when she holds you, it feels healing. And so if you drawn to like the healer aspect, but you don't have like a healing modality, it doesn't matter. You have that inherently in you. Just people being in your presence can be very healing. The shadow of the healer is they ignore their own healing so that they can heal others. So they tend to get run down, tired, drained, and they don't take care of themselves, and they just continue to take care of other people. And then we move towards the mentor. The mentor in the light is very passionate about walking people through a whole process. They love to step by step with an individual person or sometimes a group, but they love to see the progress of people. They like to take them from one step to the other. I at one point tried to be a mentor and I was like, that's way too much for me. And I owned the fact that it was just too much for me. I help heal people in different ways, and that's okay. But the mentor really loves to see the whole journey through. And then a shadow of the mentor is they tend to get jealous or feel bad when the student gets better or the student moves on to a different mentor. If the student feels like they've gotten everything they've needed from this mentor, they need something different or something more, then the mentor really gets down on themselves. If they're not good enough, what they offer isn't good enough, they just have jealousy that they were able to complete their process. Mentors kind of stay in the process. So then we move lastly to the mediator. The mediator, they are peacemakers. They create unity for everyone. They have a wonderful ability to see all sides of an issue. So they can see both sides. They want to have peace on both sides. They're really good at balancing what needs to happen in order for everyone to come to a peaceful resolution. The shadow of the mediator is not having a stance of their own. So they don't feel strongly in one way or another. They're happy to see what your stances are and have you come to an agreement, but it doesn't really matter to them what the stance is. The other shadow is that they feel like they have to have peace at any cost. So whatever they have to do, whatever they have to create, they will do that. A lot of the times they will place themselves in the middle of a situation, and so that everybody can have peace, they will take on the brunt of whatever is happening. So that's definitely something to watch for. So authenticity is real empowerment. So if you ask yourself, who are you at the center of your being? How are you going to allow this warrior spirit to claim who you truly are? To claim what you are meant to be here to do, to be. So if you feel into any of those, I'm going to stop this actually. This is my thank you page. Thank you. Love tree energy is my business, but I am curious. Oh shoot! Can you guys still hear and see me? Okay. Okay. Amir said my screen froze, so I'm hoping that I froze and came back on at some point. Um, okay. Okay, good. um, so I'm curious if any of you can either, um, okay. So if you have any questions, you can type them in the question box. Um, I'm curious if any of you felt connected to any of those 10 chakras, 10 including the servant and the warrior. And curious to see if the warrior speaks to you. Because when I first heard about the warrior, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not a warrior. And so it was, it took me a minute to kind of claim the spirit and the energy of a warrior and apply it in my own personal way. Becca, mediator is definitely one of your archetypes. Warrior, queen, and mentor. I love those. I feel connected to various archetypes and would like to go beyond the surface to learn more about authentic archetypes. Yes, Monique, let's do it. Yes. Melissa, I can totally see you as a warrior. Absolutely. Transitioning from servant to warrior. Ginger, yes, girl. So Ginger is one of my friends, and I feel like Ginger and I and Becca are all kind of on the same path of moving from these more shadowy sides of our archetypes into the more powerful and warrior places. I'm a warrior and would imagine because of my outlook on life changes and triumphs. Yeah. Mother, healer, queen, love it. So my top three are teacher, mother, queen. Queen was quite different for me to own. Once I owned it, it was incredible. I have questions. Let me. Mentor and the healer. Do you have a place to test your archetypes more thoroughly? So I know that there are online quizzes and things that you can take. Carolyn Mice, she is a great one for archetypes. Really, I would recommend you can reach out to me if you want to. This is Maureen. Maureen asked if there are places to teach, to test your archetypes more thoroughly. Really, for me, in knowing what helped me with the archetypes is learning about each of the individual archetypes. You will definitely be drawn, even if it's just to the name of an archetype. And so learning about them more, I'm happy to walk you through some of the archetypes. I have an amazing facilitator who knows everything about archetypes. I'd be happy to pass on her information. Feel connected to the servant and the warrior, would like to know more, yes. Mentor, artist, healer, I'm transitioning from servant to warrior as I mentor. Martha, okay, that's why I think that this topic is so incredible, because we don't even always realize that we are being the servant and that the opposite of that shadow is the warrior. And when we claim that warrior, whether it's we're claiming the actual archetype or we're just claiming that energy, it makes the biggest shift inside your body, inside your energy, and how you show up. Never in a million years, 6-7 months ago, did I would think that I would be teaching on a summit like this. But the moment I'm going to actually give you guys a little tip. The moment I claimed my archetypes, everything shifted and changed for me. So as you guys keep saying that you're transitioning from servant to warrior, this makes me so happy because it really makes a big difference. I will say that every morning during my meditation, I say my little prayer, I talk to my angels, and then I just place my hands over my heart and I say, I am a teacher, I am a mother, I am a queen. I always go with my first 3 archetypes. When things start to shift and change for my other archetypes, I will maybe pull in 1 or 2. And so, but I claim it every single morning. And then I thank my angels and guides for supporting that in being my truth. So that is something I would highly recommend you starting to do every day if you feel like you're transitioning from servant into the warrior. Okay, Swervy, you felt a particular attraction to healer. That's amazing. How can you apply that? How can you use that towards yourself? Messenger. Oh, I love Messenger. Where can I learn more about archetypes? So again, there are a lot of things online that you can go learn from. I have my own business, so I'm not sure how Guidely is actually working that out. My website is shandellpino.com. You can book a session with me, and I would be happy to walk through some of the archetypes with you. If I feel like you need more information about archetypes, I do have an archetype facilitator that she's incredible and knows everything in and out about archetypes, and I'd be happy to send you her way. I'm a big fan of this. If I don't have your answer, I am also a connector. I do know somebody who does have the answer. Do we have base archetypes and then changes we develop in life? Maureen, yes. We do have base archetypes. And so I'll say this, I'm gonna move this because I can't see. What happens is we have our major arcana and then our minor arcana. So we have 12 major archetypes that are who we are, and then we have 12 minor. And within the 12 minor and the 12 major, they will kind of swap and come back and forth depending on where we are in our life. And so sometimes we have one in our minor that we need at that point in our life. And so it will come in and will support us or show us what we need to know, right? And so sometimes it's not an easy lesson. Sometimes it's there to teach us the hard lessons. And so for me, one of my shadow archetypes is the saboteur. We talked about that earlier. And I have to really work on this saboteur because I want it in my minor. I don't want it to always be in my major. And so claiming this warriorness within me allows me to move that to my minor. So we do have ones that are truly inherently us. Like normally our top 3 or 4 are exactly who we are. Like I said, I've always known I was a teacher since I was little. I've always been a mother since I was little. And I've always been a queen, but I just recently am acknowledging and claiming that. So when I go look through my 12 major, then it helps me understand myself, but they can change, right? As we grow and as we learn about ourselves, there may be ones that don't fit with us anymore. And so they'll move to our minor. Sometimes they'll come back in to teach us a lesson, and then we can move them back out. So Maureen, that is definitely a good question. We do have specific ones, and they also do change. So it's kind of a double-edged answer. We are truly, this is from Monique, we are truly multifaceted beings when we tap into our intuitive power and authenticity. I'm beyond to take ownership of my chakras and archetypes. Yes, perfect. I love that, Monique. This is also from Monique. When you say mentor, queen, is it possible that one's archetype shifts or comes into different magnifications as you change seasons of your life? Shadows seem to be more of a dysfunctional approach to archetypes. Are shadows reflective of experiential trauma or challenges? Yes. So that's why I say that there aren't any good or bad archetypes. I only have a few more minutes, so I just want to make sure I get through everything. I don't want to say it's good or bad because of this dysfunctional approach. How I see the shadow sides of archetypes are ways to allow us to have lessons and better understandings. So because I am a queen, I sometimes am demanding. And so if I'm being demanding, I will check myself basically and be like, okay, wait a second, where am I coming from? Am I coming from this light side or am I coming from this shadow side? Where do I really want my energy to be? And coming back to the servant, to answer some of your question, to come back to the servant is like in my home and my family dynamic, I was very much the servant, making sure everybody was okay, everybody had food, just making sure everybody was okay at the cost of my own self. So my environment, my past my past experience in life allowed me to be this servant, even though the servant is not actually who I am. And so the challenges are recognizing that if you are in an archetype that isn't truly who you are, when you step into that authentic self of you, even when the shadow comes in, then you can see it for what it is and it doesn't take ownership of you. So um, things will change once you really start to like own and claim who you are. Then the season, like you're saying, the seasons of life change, that you can create that change. You can create that shift in who you are. I believe, I think I have 5 minutes. I want to make sure, are there some archetypes that feed off others to promote the light or shadow? Yes, there are. So, I said in the beginning, there are no good or bad archetypes. There is one archetype that does not have a light side. It is the vampire. The vampire and the saboteur both play off other archetypes. It will play off the shadows of the other archetypes. And so when you have the saboteur, which I have the saboteur, it will absolutely feed off of the shadows of my other archetypes, whether that's in my major or my minor, and it will become the truth of my situation. So I have to be very aware that that is happening. So I'm fairly lucky in the fact that I have awareness of my body and my energy. And so when you do that, when you have that ability to tune in, you'll notice when a shadow has come in, when this lower energy has come in. And with the light side, absolutely. It's just like using this warrior archetype light to show you your truest potential of the archetype of who you truly are. So you can definitely play off of each other in both ways. So you can use this teacher healer combination and think, I want to heal and help people. And at the same time, you want to teach people how to do that. So it becomes multifaceted. So you can absolutely use the shadows and the lights to work with and against each other. I hope that answers your question. Sometimes I feel like I talk a lot. Does anybody else have any questions? Oh, I see. Is there a relationship between one's astrological signs and one's archetype? Honestly, I will tell you, I don't know that answer. I can guide you to somebody who would know that answer, but I do not know if there's a correlation. I would assume that there would be, but I am not, I cannot answer that question, to be truthful. Okay, good. Martha, good. Yes, reclaim every single day. So many saboteurs and vampires. I know, I love the knowing that I am in completely control of engaging my energies through the sense of chakras and archetypes. Yes, you're so welcome. So each of the chakras, like I said, they do have their own individual archetypes. I actually wrote them down. So I can go through them really quick. So your root chakra, the shadow side is the victim and the light side is the mother. Your sacral chakra, the shadow side is the martyr and the light side is the emperor. Your solar is obviously the servant and the warrior. The heart chakra is the actor and the lover. The throat is the silent or the wounded child and the communicator. Your third eye is the intellectual and the intuitive. And then the crown is the egoist and the guru. So I'm actually putting together a series of classes that goes through each individual one of those. I will put the guidely website as soon as it's ready, so that if you're interested in learning more about how they work with the chakras, it's super informational, and just how those shadows and light come about. I will put that on as soon as everything is up and running, I believe. If anybody has any last questions for me, I'll wait. Okay. Okay, I will definitely. How do you feel about the book Eastern Body, Western Mind? Love it. Love it, love it, love it. That book is incredible and amazing. I think it's super informational, and allows you to tune into your own energy. She gives really great examples. Um, Really good book. Really good book. On my website, I have the book is, oh, sorry, you might not be able to see that. She asked about how I felt about the book Eastern Body, Western Mind. Um, I have on my website, I'm going to type my website in here. Oops, maybe. That's my website. I do have like a list of like all my favorite things, favorite books, favorite cards, favorite things on there. So you can go. I don't know if that book is on there. I'll have to go look. Oh, I sent that. Just kidding. I only sent that to Amir. All panelists and attendees. Okay, there you go. That's my website. So you're welcome to go on there. You can find out a little bit more about me. You can book a session with me. Um, uh, and you can kind of look through some of the things that I love and are passionate about. Um, and thank you all so, so much for attending the class. I really appreciate it. It was wonderful to be able to share what I love with you guys. And if you are interested in learning more, please reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions. So thank you all so much for being here. Namaste. Okay. Thank you, Ginger. Blessings, Swervy.